So these lunch and learn breaks are a time for you to take a break, have your lunch, and join us for some education on how to grow your business, or some of them have been on, so anything kind of business related or wellness related. So we're really happy to be here today. And we've got Nestor, who's calling in from, or zooming in from Vancouver, and he's going to tell us about technology for solopreneurs. And so I hope you enjoy his presentation today. And we will be sending information after the presentation. So we'll send you Nestor's slides, his contact information, so you can learn more about Lighthouse Labs and the great programs that they offer. They are partners with us too at the Village Hive. So we're really glad to have them as partners. And we'll also be sending you an email so that you have the opportunity to come join us for a free co-working day. So when you're vaccinated and you're feeling safe and want to come out and join us in Toronto or Markham or North York, we would love to have you in for a free co-working day. If you're not in the Toronto area and you're looking for a space, you can also connect with us and we'll help you find a place to connect with others. So thanks for joining us, Nestor, and I'm going to hand over the mic, the virtual mic, to you.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. Well, good morning, good afternoon to everyone. There's a lot to cover today. Essentially, this is a presentation I wish I had before I even started with my own startup back in the day. And so I've collected all the information that I've gathered through the years, and hopefully this presentation will help you as you're going through the journey of becoming a solo entrepreneur or a solopreneur. A little bit about myself. I actually worked at the Wrigley company in Chicago for a few years. And then I came to Canada and worked for the BC Lottery Corporation, worked on Mercedes-Benz Canada in the Western region. And now I'm working for Lighthouse Labs. But in between those companies, I actually had my own startup, which was called Humble Sky. And so I understand exactly what startups are going through because I lived through it myself. I was a founder of a company that actually was into digital advertising. So I was using Bluetooth low emitting devices for advertising and using the Google Eddystone protocol between 2018 to 2020. Unfortunately, Google dropped the technology. And so that left me with nothing. So I worked on Lighthouse Labs. I just recently opened or helped open a company called Define and Solve, which is a marketing research company for consumer packaged goods. And I do a lot of volunteer work for BC Cancer, the Archdiocese of Vancouver, as well as I'm a board of director in one of the nonprofit cooperatives here in Vancouver as well. So I just wanted to share this presentation to everybody, but this is really more my opinions, and these are entirely mine, and they do not reflect the views of Lighthouse Labs or Village Hive, and these are not recommendations to buy, subscribe, or sell any of these services, and I do not have any financial positions on these companies, so please do your own research. I do encourage you to take a look at Village Hive, though. It is one of the best co-working spaces that you can find right now in Toronto, Markham, and North York. And they are a very, very well-run organization. It is an awesome community of solopreneurs themselves. So the presentation is to confirm some of your suspicions or deliver new discoveries for information purposes only. So the one thing that I would like to share with you really is helping you get the more digital literacy, which really means for a solo entrepreneur to use technology and data because technology and data is actually leveling the playing field for both entrepreneurs as well as for big corporations themselves. For solo entrepreneurs, the really big question for yourself is how can you maximize work with today's innovation, all these software as a service products, but you have a limited budget. And when I say limited budget, you really want to get some stuff that is free. And this is the presentation that I can share with you, so that it will actually help you with your budget and actually with your journey in creating your own business. But for now, one of the things I'd like to ask is how many here are solo entrepreneurs? So it's a little bit of a survey time, but we have a limited amount of people here. So if you could kindly take a look at the poll in front of you, and just say if you're a solo entrepreneur or not, and that would be very much appreciated. So for today's framework, for today's presentation, I'm very sure that back in your college days or back when you were doing research on marketing, you may have encountered this framework called 4 Ps. And the 4 Ps actually is a skeleton of what marketing people will have to do and what marketing people will have to decide on before you come up with an actual business plan. So the 4 Ps really are product, price, promotion, and place, which is channel. So before I continue, thank you very much for everybody who voted. Let's take a look at the results. All right, perfect. So we've got 50-50 of those who are solo entrepreneurs. And thank you very much for participating. That's awesome. So you may not be a solo entrepreneur now, but if you are planning to be one in the near future, I hope the slides and my presentation will help. So going back to the presentation, the framework really is 4 Ps. We're going to use the 4 Ps so that I can share with you all the technology and data that are surrounding the 4 Ps. But there's one important P that people have actually forgotten, which is people. People are going to buy your products. They're going to be subscribing to your services. So it really needs a different discipline altogether. That's why I actually now use the word 5 Ps instead of 4 Ps, because in marketing, people are really the more important factor moving forward. So let's start first with product. If you're going to have a software as a service or an even physical product, these are the steps that usually you will take to get MVP, or what we call the minimum viable product. Essentially, what does MVP mean? It's actually a product on beta, or something that is close to your perfect product, if ever, but you still want to launch it to the world so that you could actually gain more users, etc. So you start off first with identifying the problem and identifying the opportunity. And then the next step is where you create a prototype based on the identification of the problem and the opportunity. And then you launch, and then you make your product, and then you launch the product, or even launch a version 2.0 from the original version. And that's when you start to build your user database, or your user base, people who are hopefully paying for the service or for the product. Then you get some more feedback from the product, and then you start all over again and create another version of the product. So it's a very iterative step when you're creating a minimum viable product. And so we start off with really identifying 3 things: the opportunities, some discipline around creating your product called the NPD stage gate method. NPD stands for New Product Development Stage Gate Method. And then you do prototyping. So this is all about products. Let's start off with that. So the first question is opportunities. So where do you find the opportunities? Where can you find inspiration to create your products? You can do this through my favorites, indie hackers, or review product forums or community posts. Look for negative customer experiences, and then you can create your MVP there. Or right after you create your MVP and you develop the product, you go for a research so that you can find more feedback towards it. So before we even go there, let's start first with where can you get inspiration? One of my favorite websites that I really frequent is called Indie Hackers, or short for Independent Hackers. They just use the word independent hackers, but essentially this is where software-based entrepreneurs start. And this community is a global community of over 700,000 indie hackers now. And the goal of indie hackers is to help each other start profitable online businesses and side projects. You don't even have to leave your job. You can have a side project so you can have additional income moving forward. So here is a website that actually has a great community behind it. People celebrate their failures as well as their successes. So you can actually learn from the failures, which is sometimes more important. And so I encourage everybody to go to Indie Hackers and take a look at it. And it's all free. The second source of information is Quora. You could actually go to Quora, again, for free sign up, and you can see a lot of topics where people are asking questions. So why is this important? If people are asking questions, people are looking for answers, and therefore there's opportunity for all these things. So you can actually get inspiration from the questions that customers are asking. And of course, you can have to do your research after that, if it's actually a viable product or a viable opportunity or not. But just answering the question, where can I find inspiration? Indie hackers and Quora are my favorite areas. And I have already amassed a good number of ideas based on these questions that people are actually asking. And then, of course, the responses from people. Another area for inspiration is the negative reviews from products. So negative reviews from products are really a good reminder that the most perfect product in any category has never been created yet. So there's always room for improvements, and there's also room for innovation or revolution. So taking a look at, as simple as Amazon, take a look at the product that you want to develop and see if there's actually a product that is close to that product already, and then take a look at the negative reviews. The 4 stars are not the right way to go. You have to look for the 3-star, 2-star, and 1-star reviews and find out exactly where the pain points are from the consumer's point of view. So rather than just going through the survey time right now, I just want to go straight to my slides, if you don't mind, so that we can have more to talk about. Now, the next question really is the discipline around developing a product. So here I'm sharing with you what we call the new product development stage gate method. So you could do a Google search yourself and take a look at what stage gate method means. But essentially it's this. You go through 4 stages, starting from concept generation. So you've done your research, you've identified an opportunity, and this is where that stage is: brainstorming, concept generation, and ideation. The second stage is actually putting quantitative stuff on your interest. So what we call a basis for interest. So you have to really think about concept evaluation and doing research, doing your market feasibility. Is there really a market for product X for this specific target group of people? On stage 3 is prototyping. That's when you actually have to develop the product, or even just a minimum viable product or an MVP. You have to then test this with hopefully a large population. And then you go through the feedback loop. Take a look at what's wrong and then just fix it again, and then run it again, do another field test, etc. So it's a very iterative way of doing things. The final stage is really commercial production. This is where you have to have your finance or your supply chain person talk to you and say, okay, this is how much it's going to cost to scale up to this level at a commercial stage. And then you also think about distribution and commercialization. So for example, if you're going to distribute your widget to as many people as possible, what does many really mean? Are you going to start off as a location? Are you going to start off as a certain group of people, only seniors or only ex-military people? Approaches like that would help redefine your playing field so that you know exactly how much it'll take and how much it'll cost to commercialize your product. The next stage really is prototyping. So when you have already your product and you're going through the stages of product development, I would encourage you to really help yourself by actually working with what they call maker labs, or people who actually do 3D prototyping. So let's say you actually have a widget and you really need something done. 3D prototyping has actually made the prototyping process economically easier for a lot of entrepreneurs. So just go ahead and go for a Google search on maker labs, 3D prototyping, or even fabricators. Fabricators are actually a good way to talk to engineers and really come up with a really real life product of your business. So for example, there is a company called North Forge in Manitoba, and they are probably one of the biggest fabricators, maker labs in the country today. There's a lot of people who actually work with North Forge in Canada in general, and they are a fantastic partner to come up with prototypes if the prototypes that you need are actual widgets or actual physical products. In Toronto, there's the Toronto 2 library. So it's available 24/7. It's very near Danforth, but you can actually have access to not only tools, but they have 3D printers, laser cutters, and a wood shop that you can actually create your product if you really need it. And this is one of the best this is one of the best partners to work with, because not only can they teach you to use the tool, you all can also borrow the tool, and you also can create the tool, create the product there yourself. And 24/7 is not a bad thing. I'm not sure though, in the age of COVID, if that is still true. So that needs a little bit more research. This is an example of Maker Labs in Pacific, in Northwest. Vancouver has Maker Labs, and they actually do a lot of 3D prototyping, and they need to have membership for you to actually work with them. And then finally, there's also cloud kitchens. So I would encourage people to do a research or search on cloud kitchens. The term cloud kitchens is really a third-party kitchen for small business prototypes. So let's just say you're not creating a software, you're not creating a widget, but you're actually creating food for consumer packaged goods. You don't have to do it in the kitchen, on your kitchen, and mess up your entire place. You can actually work with cloud kitchens, and they probably have better kitchen material and kitchen equipment for you to use. And they also have a lot of people who are entrepreneurs who are doing a lot of food-based products for subscription or for fulfillment. So there's a lot of DoorDash people who actually work with cloud kitchen entrepreneurs. So, and a good example is really Kitchen 24 in North York. So take a look at their services. But essentially, the word is about cloud kitchens is that you don't have to own a really expensive piece of equipment just to create your ultimate bagel or your ultimate croissant. You have cloud kitchens to use that, and you can use them on a membership basis or on a per need basis as well. Perfect. So let's just say you're going to do something as a software as a service then. Well, here are three services that you can actually explore to move forward your ultimate software. Let's just say you're not a coder, you're not a developer, but you do have a vision of what your app looks like. I would encourage you to use Proto.io. Proto.io is like, it's a UI generator. It is like PowerPoint for entrepreneurs to help you actually deliver your software or what it looks like. So imagine that you can actually have your software developed using Proto.io. You can actually then show that to your future developers and say, this is what I want, this is what it looks like. It's a rough sketch. And you can do it as a mobile service or a web application or even a watch application, an iOS watch, as you can see at the lower level. So you can create all these nice software without the code yet, just for you to visualize exactly what you want out of your product. Another example is Figma on the left and Bubble.io on the right. But all three actually develop the same thing. They are what you call user interface creators. So think of it as PowerPoint for entrepreneurs for your applications. You don't have to do hard code or anything like that, but this is a good way to start so that you can actually have a very, very excellent way of moving forward with your software. And because we're talking about developers, this is just an advertising. I just wanted to advertise our Introduction to Web Development course. If you do want to get some training, Lighthouse Labs does offer part-time courses, including Introduction to Web Development course, which will help you become more educated when you are thinking about your software as a service. And this will guide you, this part-time course will guide you in understanding what is needed for both the front end, the back end, and database, and how you put it all together to create your software. So thank you very much to Lighthouse Labs. All right, so moving on, we're going to talk about price, and these are the factors that may affect it. We're going to go into three things, and hopefully this will help you as well. The first thing is really subscriptions and affiliate models. Price is affected by how you charge people. So one of the more important developments in the recent years is actually having subscription services for real world products as well as software products. The best subscription model was really with Dollar Shave Club. And if you take a look at how they did it, they've actually developed their system based on a really good need, a niche, and then they developed a really good ecosystem around their products. And so they are able to deliver Dollar Shave Club products at a very reasonable price. They have steady revenue and a steady MRR, which means monthly recurring revenue. I encourage everybody to take a look at Dollar Shave Club and the business model around it. The second is really New York Times Wirecutter. So the New York Times Wirecutter makes revenue only if the reader purchased and does not return the product, which is totally different from affiliate models that are really like really dodgy schemes. But Wirecutter has been successful because of this model. They'll only make money if the person does not return the product that they are endorsing. So I encourage everybody to take a look at Wirecutter. Payment technologies have gone forward in more ways than one. First, we have physical payment point of sale materials like Square. People who are tradespeople can actually have a Square product, and if they are in the field, let's say they're a home-based plumber, they can actually just charge the person right then and there, have their own POS. You don't have to have the big clunky thing, and you can pay with your mobile payment solution. And speaking of mobile payment solutions, I would encourage people to, if you already have a business, to expand your business and take a look at attracting the Mandarin-speaking clientele. I would encourage people to use WeChat Pay or Alipay, because that actually just expands your customer base by thousands, leaps and folds. And of course, there's PayPal and Interact as your go-to normally. But the most important thing really here is the development of Stripe. For people who are creating web application developments, let's say a website where you're selling your software as a service, Stripe has actually created payment technologies that are really easy to use because they have the developer first in mind. So imagine you're going to be paying for PayPal and Interact, but you can actually create your own system and use Stripe's technology so that it'll become an easier fit for your web application or for your mobile application. So I encourage you to take a look at Stripe as a future technology that you might want to incorporate in your mobile applications. And then finally, we've got these really good discounts. So this affects price because customers are really, shall we say, used to taking a look at not paying for the full price. So now they've actually created applications for this. So the first application is called Honey. It's a Honey application, which you put it on your Firefox or your browser, and that actually helps you search for the best coupons online. So this is an example of what they look like. If you buy something and there's a coupon somewhere around the world or somewhere around Toronto or Markham or North York, then you can get that coupon and it'll be applied to your purchase instantly. The next thing is what we call Camelizer. A Camelizer is really an application based on this web application called Camel. So I know it's a weird name, but Amazon has like tons and tons of products and tons of suppliers. Camel is a web application on top of Amazon that actually helps you understand whether the price is high or low. Now, to make that even super easier for a person who doesn't want to go through Camel, they've created Camelizer. Somebody has hacked Camel and created Camelizer so that you can actually see on your Amazon page what is the right price for X product. So those are really interesting products that a lot of customers are looking at now because nobody wants to pay full price and they want to get the best in pricing for any product they want. The next step really is promotions. So now you got your product. So first you identified your opportunity. Now you got your pricing ready. You got your product ready. Now the next thing is about promotions. Now I know a lot of people already are into digital advertising, so I will skip everything about digital advertising and just help you understand that there's a lot more developments now in promotions other than just a digital advertising, which is perfect, by the way. So the first thing really is digital advertising. So this is really just a list of things that you have to think about, and really it's three basic buckets here. It's owned media, paid media, and earned media. If a digital advertising agency talks to you about these things, this is the easiest thing that you can do. Owned media is channels that you can control. So you control the content. Paid media is when you shell out money because you want your ad to be seen. And that ad is really a catalyst to go to your own media. It could be your website, it could be your blog post, it could be your info session, it could be your Twitter, gram, whatever it is. But so paid, actually, you don't control the medium, but you do pay so that you can have presence in that platform. And the role of that is to move that person into your own media. And then finally, you've got earned media. Earned media is when the customer becomes the channel And this is a way for you to listen and respond. This is where you engage your customers. So you have feedback, you can understand exactly what their sentiments are, and you can actually understand who the potential customers are for the future. So this is how you really take a look at making decisions. So you have to understand when you're sending money or when you're spending money rather, understand that that's really, really more for a catalyst so that they can go to your own media. Your own media, then you better have really a good own media because you want people to convert to sales. So you better have your own website. You better have your really interesting blogs, and having an email campaign is also good. Downloadable stuff, that's awesome. So that's your own media. And then eventually you'll know that people are going to give feedback. That's earned media. And that's where the engagement starts. So how do you get to your first 1,000 users? So this is first a formula that was developed as I was doing my research on creating my first 1,000 users for my MVP. And I realized this is the formula that was given. It's Indie Hacker plus Product Hunt plus Y Combinator plus Reddit. So using all 4 platforms will actually help you gain your first set of users right away. So let's take a look at first your first formula, the first factor in the formula. It's Indie Hackers. So going back to Indie Hackers, you can actually be part of that community free. And then you also show what you're trying to do, your product. And you can actually get initial alpha feedback from developers themselves on your product. And they will be more than happy to help you with your whatever you're doing. So they can give you actually honest feedback on what you've been developing. The second group is really Product Hunt or Beta List. Either one would work or both. But Product Hunt, actually showing your stuff on Product Hunt, will gain more eyeballs on your product, and you will get more MVP. You can get more users for your MVP simply because they've got a large database. The third is Y Combinator / show. So Hacker News is an awesome source for technical comments and technology news and varying opinions about scientific disciplines. But they do have a sub page called Show, and this is where you show off your products. So again, you've got a high group of intellectuals who can actually help you or even work and test your product if you really want it. The next group is really subreddits on Reddit. So Reddit actually have over 1,000 subreddits, and so you will find the right niche for your product. And now it's all a matter of introducing yourself in subreddits and showing your product and gaining more users for your MVP. So in general, to generate your first 1,000 users, you would actually use that combination of this formula to get to your first group of people who will work with your product. And the best part, it's all free, as in air. As in you can do this, and it's just a matter of resource, which is time and $0 when you create your first MVP. Of course, I wouldn't be leaving promotions advertising without talking about social media. So today, we all know that social media has extended into its own advertising, marketplace. So if you have, let's say, a social media account, Instagram, for example, Instagram actually has a way to sell or even just show the products that you're selling on the left, and you can see an example there. And every brand around the world is already doing this. The second thing about social media is YouTube. YouTube is actually a good way of actually getting more people to take a look at your products. But now they've created affiliate programs for YouTube creators. So you can see here on the right, there's actually it was actually a presentation about certain laptops, and then they had links to these products, because if you take a look at clicking on the link, you will then, as a creator, you will get a discount. You'll get some dollars based on the recommendations that you've been giving on your YouTube channel. And the second most important search engine that people are using around the world today is the YouTube search engine. So you've got your Google search, and then the second is the YouTube search engine. So don't underestimate the power of your descriptors when you're creating your YouTube channel, because it's a really good way of actually selling your products. And I wouldn't be leaving social media without talking about TikTok. So TikTok has become a big one, and people and big brands around the world are creating their TikTok channels, leveraging, like, for example, Chipotle has their National Avocado Day, wherein they give away guacamole for free, or there's like a National Burrito Day, who makes these things up. And it's actually really products or days that they celebrate which is consistent with their brand and what they're selling. So if you're selling, let's say, a donut, then you should have a National Donut Day. You should be on TikTok and showing off your products and showing off your stuff. So is it a way to sell? No, but it's a way to generate eyeballs and generate awareness for your brand. So going to place and channels. So what we're really talking about here is really marketplaces where you can sell. And then there's such a thing as distribution, fulfillment, and then merchandising. So let's start off with that. So marketplaces, where can you sell? Around the world, it's either a choice between, if you don't want to go Amazon, it's a choice between Shopify and Etsy. And Shopify and Etsy are really the big guns right now. And Shopify is a Canadian company, so it's a nice way to, work with Canadians themselves. But please make sure that you understand your target markets. Are you selling to people in United Kingdom? So if it is, then you better be working on an Etsy platform. Are you selling to the US? Then again, it's an Etsy platform and not a Shopify platform. Unfortunate. However, if you take a look at selling for Canada, this is a sub-regional analysis. Take a look at this and you'll see that Ontario has a 50-50 split between Etsy and Shopify. British Columbia is the same thing. Quebec is a little slightly more on Etsy. Long story short, please do your research first on regional marketplaces and what is popular. And the way to do that is go to Google Trends, again, for free. Google Trends will let you know exactly what is popular or what marketplaces will be popular for specific regions, right down to the region of Canada, for example. And so that's a good way to make that decision whether you should be going to one marketplace or the other. The second thing about place is distribution and fulfillment. A lot of people now are expecting that brands have a direct-to-consumer approach. So, for example, if you are a small company that would like to sell your pancakes rather than software, I would advise you to go with a full delivery fulfillment company like Skip the Dishes or whatever company you want, because then going straight to these people, you know that people are actually using these platforms so that they can actually buy their products and not even go to the restaurants anymore. So Skip the Dishes, in terms of fulfillment, are pretty good. And then there's also other things like cutting the middleman altogether. So there's a lot of direct-to-consumer wine delivery options, as an example. So the whole point here of this slide is skipping the middleman is a popular distribution tactic with end users. In fact, they're expecting that if they're going to interact with you as a brand, you better have a skipping the middleman approach to your distribution, because they just want to deal directly with you because they believe that's a faster way of getting your product or not. Now, in real life, there's such a thing as merchandising. There's a lot of research about merchandising. And cognitively, what happens is you actually make these filters so that you can make your decision on whether you're going to buy product X or Y. And this is what happens in the shopping aisle. And there's a lot of people who try to create their brand wall. They have only Frito-Lays in this area, etc. And they pay for those things, right? So that's merchandising in real life. But how do you do that in the digital world? So in the digital world, really, it's really taking advantage of that cognitive ability of using filters. So filters really is, just like in the real world, your key to making brand decisions. So I would say three things. First, research popular terms people are looking for. Second, once you get those popular terms, use them in your descriptions and explaining what you are. And then third, make sure that there's actually filters when you're selling that on Etsy or Shopify that are actually biased towards your keywords or the words that people use for when they make decisions on what to buy. For example, when you're merchandising in Amazon, you know that as a filter, Amazon is going to have on the right side your featured items or your price. You can filter by featured, you can filter by price, you can filter by average customer review, etc. On the left, you can also do by brands. But there were other filters in Amazon that's not shown here in the window that are on the left side and the lower. And they've done that purposely, on purpose, because they want to sell, of course, their featured products and their Amazon choice selections. So there's screen sizes, processors, GPUs, operating systems. You can make those decisions and filters, and then you can have another result altogether. In real estate, it's the same thing. If you take a look at the rew.ca, it's not as it's not as active in terms of the filters. They don't have a lot of filters other than square foot, number of beds, number of toilets, etc. But on other websites, like for example, corcoran.com, they actually specify, oh, do you want a house or whatever, a condo, etc., with central air, skyline views, washer and dryer, park views, river views, a doorman. So all these amenities are highlighted in real estate companies in other in the US, for example, because they've already researched on what are people looking for when they're looking for the best, the ultimate house that they want to invest in. So long story short, use filters, put them on amenity, use them as a way to make selections show your product, and make sure that your descriptions have those important keywords. People and customers. So this is the last box that is really important for a lot of customers, and a lot of solopreneurs. So I already gave you all the other frameworks, but I promise this is even more important, because ultimately people are going to buy your product, subscribe your product. So you have to get to know them intimately. So when you do this, you're really doing yourself and your business a favor by doing a lot of research on what their needs are and what are the things that they want, right? So it's needs and wants. So we're gonna go through 3 points again: customer research, what the CRM can do, and of course, personas. So the first thing really is customer research. So going back to your product, you wanna take a look at, oh, how can I ask people questions about these things? So feel free to use these 3 leading survey platforms that are right now in the market, and they're really good platforms. There's Google Forms, there's SurveyMonkey, and Typeform. All 3 will be charging you a certain amount of money, of course. So the nice thing about these 3, and any one I think will do, the nice thing about this is when you're creating your research questionnaire, there's a lot of good stuff on logic functions. So, if this, then that. And after your survey, there's actually good post-survey reporting. And it's really easy for developing your questionnaire, for quantitative purposes. So these 3 product platforms are really the leaders right now in developing this thing. Well, let's just say you don't want to use a survey yet. You want to do what we call a secondhand research, meaning you want to do research about people who already done the research before you. So I would go to Google Scholar. Google Scholar will actually tell you if there are actually research, quantitative, qualitative, or whatever kind of research that has been done and published already online before you can even start your survey. So here, because I came from the background, my background was a car company as well. So I just did a Google survey in automobile buyer attribute selection. Attributes mean these are the factors that people use when they're selecting a car. And already I got a hit of 39,500 results. And all these research, you can even filter it even further in terms of dates. So you can take a look at all the results. And if the results don't want to give you the entire survey, here's a trick. Take a look at the cited button, the one with the red bar. And you can actually find one of those 9 versions of that survey is free. If it's an Elsevier, there's going to be a paywall, but people actually give away their studies for free if you ask the authors themselves. Or if you take a look at the all 9 versions, for example, of that first research, you can probably get something for free there as well. So let's just say you already know, you've done already your research and you've done already a survey, and you have already some products and it's already going, and you've had your first 1,000 users. Feel free to look at taking a look at CRMs. CRMs are really customer relationship marketing portfolio or customer relationship marketing platforms. But what these do is that they actually help you understand who your initial 1,000 users are. And then if there's a way to actually market or remarket with them, this is the best way to move forward. On Lighthouse Labs, we use both Zoho and Pipeline Drive. And the difference between the two is Zoho is a very traditional CRM. Pipeline Drive is more for B2B sales as well as CRM. So this is just any CRM actually will do, as long as you start the discipline of actually tracking your customers if possible and if they allow. this will be a good way for you to remarket at a very nominal price. And then finally, we talk about personas. So you probably have an idea of who your customers are. So one of the things that you can do for yourself and for your business is use Google Analytics to understand exactly what your web visitors are thinking of. So there's two categories that are important. The first is what they call affinity category. So if your customers are going to your website or your web application, somehow the Google browser or any browser is able to create an idea of what that customer has an affinity towards, or what they're actually looking at beyond what your products are selling. So for example, this group of people are actually into shopping, they're into media, technology, etc. So all those in the affinity category, you can see exactly what is in the minds of a customer, your potential customer. On the other hand, it's in market. In market means they're actively searching, using keywords, actively searching these things because they're now in the market for these things. For example, employment, software, business productivity, business services. These are the things that people are looking for in this web session. So we build these two things together so that when you have an understanding of who these people are, you also take into consideration both their affinities and what they're searching online. And this is like the last few slides I have. And these are really three things that I've learned also in my journey as an entrepreneur. First is actually replacing Office Suite, Microsoft Office. And we work with Microsoft, instead of Microsoft Office, we work with Google Workspace. And the reason for that is because there's a lot more resources that we can use. And the pricing is right. It's not as expensive as Microsoft Office, but you also get a lot more tools. And you can have a lot more collaboration opportunities. For example, just in Google Docs itself, people can collaborate easily. Another way of business process that we use is Slack. Slack channels are important internally in Lighthouse Labs, our company. But here's the thing: Lighthouse Labs is great for internal channels. You can actually join channels outside of your company. So on my right, actually, I just mentioned that I joined other Slack channels about other interests of mine, and it's all open. It's all free. It's all open. Well, sometimes it's free. Sometimes they ask you to pay, but it's all open. So you can actually, for example, if you're looking for the military, there probably might be some Slack channels for the military that you may want to join, or mothers who are working from home, something like that. So you can actually have Slack channels along that lines. If there isn't a Slack channel, you can start your own and build your community that way as well. And then finally, project management. I use Trello for project management so I can organize things the way I want them, so I know what's going to happen down the pipe. But also there's a lot of various templates that you can use, like from wedding planning all the way to multiple project management. And Trello has a lot of these templates for free. I don't pay for my Trello, so I have limited amount of things that I can use, but it's fine because it's really more for project management my way. And finally, let's take a look at data visualization. So let's say you already have your MVP, you've got 1,000 users. One of the things that you may want to do is understanding what the data looks like. And having data visualization tools are important so that you can actually show these to your investors in a very logical way. We recommend, when I say we, Lighthouse Labs actually helps people by teaching them about Tableau. And there's a lot of free courses on Tableau that you can use on Tableau website itself. And at the end of the day, this is really helping you to do data visualization and showing the numbers for your investors. But sometimes you don't have any data yet, so you want to get your hands dirty on Tableau. I would suggest getting data from Kaggle. Kaggle is a data science project website, and you can actually download some data, which are real-world data, although they're dated, like between 2010 to 2015. But they are data science open data sets that you can use to test your theory or to test everything that you have. So for example, on the screens, you can see there's a lot of buckets like economics. If you're into real estate, you can take a look at real estate data sets. And what I see here is like from Hong Kong, from Melbourne, etc. There's also, if you're training a machine learning product on image recognition, there's a lot of data sets for that, as well as for natural language processing. And then finally, if you really want to understand data analytics as a skill set, advertising here, Lighthouse Labs does have Introduction to Data Analytics as a part-time course that you can take, just like Introduction to Web Development. Introduction to Data Analytics will give you the right skill sets to help you understand what the skill is and how you can take advantage of it for your product. And that is my short spiel. Hopefully you were able to get something out of the presentation. Let's take a look at the questions. I think there were some questions, Monica or Mitch. Let's see.
Nestor, that was amazing. Wow.
Thank
So
you.
much information. I've been taking notes, and I'm so glad that this is recorded and that we're going to be sharing these slides afterwards, because there's just, wow, so much information. It's almost overwhelming for a solopreneur. I mean, this information is good for anybody that's solopreneur or small business. And you know, this has been super, super helpful.
Thank you.
And I just, as I said, just writing down tons of ideas and things I need to look into. I had no idea about Google Scholar, for example. No idea. It's amazing how many new things you learn in a day. So I'm just wondering if anybody has any questions, please feel free to unmute and or put a question in the chat group.
There was a question on ghost kitchens. Yes, ghost kitchens are cloud kitchens. They just use the word cloud kitchen. It's more friendly. Ghost kitchen sounds like it's a dodgy product, but cloud kitchens are just along the lines of cloud services. That's why they now use the term cloud kitchen for that. That was a question from Monica.
Mm-hmm.
I also like the shout out to Trello. That was great.
Yeah. Trello is an amazing product, and they actually have a lot of competitors now. But the point here is, if there's a way to organize your day, then use services that are free like Trello. And the nice thing about Trello, Monica, is that, as you know, there's a lot of templates that they can use. So I do have a friend back in my old country, and he used Trello for his wedding planning. So that was actually a good thing for him as well. So, yeah.
Hey, Nestor, I have a question regarding the Kaggle and regarding the data.
Data set.
The data sets for, I guess, specific industries. My little ears peaked up when you said real estate and being able to do some data mining and finance and science on it, as that's sort of my new niche and things. And also, I've never heard of Google Scholar also, so that was actually quite interesting. But if you can definitely go back to the Kaggle and kind of give a very quick overview on that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kaggle actually is a website that is a repository of open data sets, Matt. So a lot of people around the world just share their data sets, and they let people play around with data sets in whatever way. You could do as simple as a pivot table on your data set, just to understand what are the things that people are thinking about, attributes, for example, that they're looking for. When I talked about features and amenities that people are looking for in a house or in a townhouse or in a condo, you could probably find a data set around those things. Or you could also go back to Google Scholar and do a research on what are the attributes. The word attributes is an important thing for marketing. So attributes for the perfect home or the perfect condo. And you can see that there's already, that'll start a sort of a hypothesis on what you believe are the right attributes. And then I would go to data sets like Kaggle, or even I know that Reddit has a subreddit called Open Data Sets, and look for real estate. Anything about real estate, just take a look at it, and maybe that might be something that will help you with your business, Matt. Yeah, hopefully that helps.
Thank you.
Perfect. And yeah, that's all I have right now. Charlotte?
Yeah, does anybody else have any questions out there? I know I was writing down questions, and now I can't even find the questions that I was writing for. Or I was writing down. Okay, so watching this, as I said, I'm so glad it's recorded, because we'll be watching watching it over and over again and sharing this. What is your number one thing that you wish, because you said you wish you had have known all this before you started any of your companies or started working in, what do you think is the one thing you wish you had have known?
It would have been Google Scholar. That would have been started everything, because if I only knew that all these research is already online, I wouldn't be spending my time looking for the research myself and paying people on research, only to find it's actually free. It's available on Google. So that was the one thing. It starts off everything, identifying the opportunity, identifying the pain points of people. It's the one thing that'll help you, and it's for free.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's, I bet you there's not many people that know about it too.
I'm hoping now that I hope there's a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely.
To help more entrepreneurs, of course.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Nestor.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time. We had some people coming and going and some people live